It was October 12, 2008. A quiet town in northern Idaho called Granger Hollow, with a population of less than 1,000. The kind of place where everyone waves at each other, the grocery store clerk knows your name, and cell service dies the second you pass the diner on Route 83. At the edge of town lived a man named Thomas Blake. Thomas was 41 years old, worked at the town's only electronics repair shop, and had a habit of collecting old TVs. Not flat screens. Not even those clunky tube ones from the early 2000s. We're talking about the kind of TVs with wood paneling, built-in dials, and no remote control. To anyone else, it was junk. But Thomas believed the older the TV, the purer the signal. He had over 30 of them stacked neatly in his basement, all cleaned up and working. Every weekend, he'd tinker with them. Sometimes he'd get them to play local channels. Other times, just static. But he didn't care. The hum of the screen, the snow of white noise, he found it comforting. Then, one Saturday night, everything changed. Around 11:17 p.m., during a heavy thunderstorm, Thomas was in his basement, flipping through channels on a 1984 Zenith. It was pouring outside. Wind howled through the cracks in the old house, and thunder shook the floorboards. One by one, the TVs lost signal, until just one remained on. The Zenith. It was tuned to Channel 3, which hadn't broadcast anything in over a decade. But this time, instead of the usual static, there was an image. A dimly lit room. Fuzzy. Grainy. But unmistakably real. The room looked like an old motel. You could see faded wallpaper, a dusty lamp in the corner, and a mirror on the wall. Thomas leaned in. The camera wasn't moving. It was just on. Broadcasting this one room. At first, he thought it was a test pattern or a rerun. But then something strange happened. The mirror on the wall blinked. Not flashed. Not glitched. It blinked. As if someone, or something, inside the mirror, had eyes. Thomas backed away. He turned the dial. Nothing happened. The channel wouldn't change. The power button didn't respond. Even unplugging the TV didn't work. It stayed on. Then, the lamp in the broadcast started to flicker. Once. Twice. Then it shut off. The room went completely dark, but the screen didn't. Because the static returned. Only now, it wasn't normal static. It was whispering. Soft voices buried beneath the white noise. He couldn't make out what they were saying, but they were talking. To him. He grabbed a flashlight and bolted upstairs, locking the basement door behind him. For the rest of the night, he slept on the couch, TV off, lights on, hands gripping the blanket so tight his knuckles went white. By morning, the storm had passed. Birds chirped outside. Everything seemed fine. Until he opened the basement door. Every TV was on. All 30 of them. And every screen showed the same room from before, the motel, the lamp, the mirror. But this time, someone was sitting on the bed. A man in a dark suit. He wasn't moving. Just sitting. Hands folded. Head tilted, as if he was listening. Thomas yanked the power cords again. Still nothing. He even flipped the main breaker in the house. All the lights turned off, except the ones on the TVs. Those screens stayed lit like they had their own power source. That night, Thomas packed a bag and drove to his brother's house in Spokane. He told him everything. His brother thought he was just stressed, told him to throw the TVs out, and let it go. But Thomas couldn't. 3 days later, police found Thomas's car abandoned outside Granger Hollow. His front door was wide open. No signs of a break-in. Nothing stolen. But the house was different. The basement was gone. Not just empty. Gone. As if it had never existed. No stairs. No door. Just a solid wall of concrete where the entrance used to be. Neighbors said they heard strange sounds the night before. A humming. Like electricity. One man even claimed he saw a faint glow coming from under the ground, but no one could prove anything. The local paper wrote it off as mental stress. Electronics repairman suffers breakdown, disappears during storm. But behind closed doors, the cops admitted something. In the middle of the living room, sitting perfectly upright on the coffee table, was a single TV. The same 1984 Zenith. Unplugged. And still playing Channel 3. On the screen was a new room. Brighter this time. With a couch. A small table. And a man standing in the corner. Not the man in the suit. This time, it was Thomas. Eyes wide open. Not blinking. Not moving. Just, watching. To this day, Channel 3 remains off the air in Granger Hollow. And the house Thomas lived in was quietly demolished 6 months later. Locals avoid the street where it stood. And the field it became. Never grows grass. Some say it's just a weird patch of dirt. Others claim, if you stand there during a storm, you can hear static from underground. And sometimes, whispers. They don't know what Thomas found that night. Or if he ever left. But if you're ever flipping channels late at night and come across a blank room on a screen, don't look too long. Because the mirror might blink, and once it sees you, there's no turning it off.